In the race for the White House, it's the billionaire candidates who are overwhelmingly spending the most on political ads. 6 candidates are spending $10 million or more so far on TV and other media advertisements. Tom Steyer and Michael Bloomberg are leading the way with a combined total of nearly $90 million.
President Trump isn't too far behind the 2 individuals with more than $33 million spent so far. But unlike his Democratic billionaire competitors, the bulk of the president's reelection bid isn't hinging on his own self-funding. Axios media reporter Sara Fischer dives into the dollars, diving for dollars, and what it means for the 2020 election. She joins us now from Washington. So, Sara, Steyer has a clear lead when it comes to spending on ads. Michael Bloomberg is in second, and his official campaign is, only a week old so far? So despite this, the 2 so far haven't been gaining a lot of traction in the polls. The thing about self-funding is you can't get on the debate stage either. So we haven't actually sort of tackled that. But what does this say about, the strategy and the potential sort of long-term plans for the race?
Well, what I think it means is it's going to force everybody else to start spending a lot more cash. And this is especially true for the types of mediums that they pick. If Michael Bloomberg's going to decide to pour a ton of money into TV, then you should expect his Democratic counterparts to also feel pressured to throw a lot of money into television. The other thing that I think it really represents here is that these candidates, as they lack visibility, as you mentioned, they only came into this race a few months into it. They need to use paid media advertising in order to get their names out there. And now, as you mentioned, Anne-Marie, Tom Steyer didn't make the first debate in September, even though he poured a ton of cash into ads. He did, however, make the second debate in October. So it's to be seen whether or not you can buy your way to the debate stage. But these candidates are hoping they can just buy their way into the election.
So President Trump's in third place in spending. Now, unlike Steyer and Bloomberg, as you know, Sarah, the majority of his ads, the spending that he's doing is not on television. A lot of critics in 2016 said he got that for free. So what is his campaign focusing on?
I mean, Google and Facebook, and primarily Facebook. The last time I checked the numbers, it was about $27 million that he spent on those platforms between now and January 1st. The thing to remember, though, about the Trump campaign especially, but all campaigns, is this. You want to spend a ton of money on digital now because it helps you gather data about your supporters. And then you can utilize that data to help target your TV ad buys later down the line. Expect TV ad spend to increase when we get into the primaries and as well into the general election.
So unlike his 2016 bid, the president's reelection campaign is being powered by individual donors this time around. He's obviously raising a lot of money. How's he doing it?
A lot of it is honestly targeting people online on Facebook very acutely with things that you wouldn't expect. One of his great targets, the president's, is utilizing merchandise. Here, buy a Trump hat. And when you buy that Trump hat, they also sign you up to Donald Trump's email listserv, which then gets you into their system so that they can solicit you for small dollar donations. The Trump campaign has been very effective about doing that type of thing. And it's important to note that this is pretty different from last cycle. In 2016, the president did use a lot of his own wealth, as we mentioned, he's a billionaire, in order to finance his campaign. But this cycle, he's working more closely with the RNC and political groups to get those smaller dollar donations in.
So candidates like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, who isn't even in the top 6 in ad spending, are mostly leading the polls in early states. So could the billionaire spending strategy be backfiring?
I don't think it's backfiring. I just think we haven't seen it play out for a long enough time yet. Remember, a lot of those candidates, not only had they announced way earlier, not only had they been in this race earlier, but for Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, these are people who have run for president before. And so people have name recognition with them already. They know their platforms. They know what they stand for. I think some of what you're seeing in those high poll numbers is a reflection of that. What's going to be tougher for candidates like Tom Steyer and Michael Bloomberg, even though they have war chests, is that, one, we don't really understand Tom Steyer's public service record. I mean, he's really not somebody who's ever held public office. And Michael Bloomberg's been out of the game for a while, so we don't have a clear understanding, voters don't, of what he's been up to for the past few months and years, other than some of the nonprofit work he's been doing. I think that that's the big hesitation here for voters with them. It's not that they're spending a lot of money. They just don't really know what their public service record is.
So we've talked about this before. You know, when determining just how much money they're spending on ads, you have to determine what exactly a political ad is. And that's still kind of like a gray, fuzzy area. It's really hard to define, particularly in the age of social media.
It's super hard to define, and this is causing chaos for a lot of the platforms and a lot of the candidates, because candidates traditionally have used social media platforms by taking their own data and matching it with the data on platforms like Facebook or Google to really acutely target voters. Well, now platforms are cracking down. They're saying that helps to create a lot of misinformation, and you might not be able to do that anymore. So it really puts candidates in a bind. They're going to have to rework some of their strategies. One of the things that we've been seeing is that there's been a lot of search ads that have increased. Candidate like Michael Bloomberg has been spending a lot trying to get keyword searches up. So candidates are going to have to migrate some of these flaky definitions and some of these loose parameters around political ads, and that's going to be a challenge for them.
All right, Sara Fischer, thank you very much. Always good talking to you.
Thank you.